Welcome to the Nashville Post podcast. My name is Nicole Prano. I'm editor-in-chief of the Post, and on this show, we go inside the minds of company leaders who are reshaping our city's industries. This podcast is part of our Innovations and Ideas digital series brought to you by Cumberland Pharmaceuticals. For more stories and content like this, go to nashvillepost.com. Let's meet one of our disruptors.
Hello, my name is Rod McDaniel. I'm the CEO of S3 Recycling Solutions.
Thanks for being here, Rod.
Yeah, glad to be here.
We are talking about innovation and being an industry disruptor. And so the first thing I want to know from you is, how are you innovating today?
How am I innovating today? All right, I'm going to be a little simplistic. Innovation doesn't just have to be technology. And I think I'm a tech guy, come from tech, raised in tech, but I think we're in a season of being a little different. I think the workforce is asking for something different. And I think innovation is culture. I think that could set you apart. And I think the way that we are building culture at S3 is different. We are people-centered and community-focused. And I think that actually helps drive business. And I think it helps us grow and serve our communities better.
I will dig into that culture a little bit more with you here in a minute. I want you to start by telling me about the technology that S3 has. What is it doing now that is different from what you've been doing in the past? What have you learned along your route as CEO? Kind of get into that technical aspect for me, since it's the first thing you mentioned.
Yeah. So we are a tech company. We started out with people being a focus, and our industry is it's heavy use on just people in general. And so some of the things that we're seeing is that AI, everybody's talking about AI, right? So got to mention that. But we're looking at ways to improve our bottlenecks in our warehouses. And one of those is throughput. Product going through the warehouse. So we're in the process of using computer vision to inventory devices automatically. And those devices that can't be read will be kicked off to an individual that would do some quality checks on them. But that's one of the ways. We are also using AI to route our trucks. A lot of people don't realize that we do almost 80% of our pickups on our own throughout the country.
I saw an S3 truck this morning on my way in to record this podcast, and I thought, how perfect.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's awesome. I still get excited when I see those trucks. I take a picture about killing myself on the road. But yeah, so we route, those are currently manually routed, even though we're a tech company, but we're in the process of creating our own software that automatically does that. It looks at how often we pick up a customer, how much equipment they typically get, and then it routes that pickup for us automatically.
AI, you mentioned, it's something we have to talk about. In a lot of conversations, I'm hearing it as kind of, it's not so much that AI is the new innovation, but it is how AI is being implemented and used in different industries that is, the creative, innovative ways that people are coming up with. So what about it is so important for you within kind of like the manufacturing realm specifically?
Yeah, we have a process in our warehouse where it's very painful for some of our techs, so every piece of device that comes in, it has to be sorted. So it's got to be taken out of a gaylord, and a person is bending over. They've got to pick up these heavy devices. So I think we use technology to help help our people do their jobs better. Instead of, I think a lot of people are looking at it at, hey, they're coming in to take my job. I think AI comes alongside you to make your job in the process better for all of us. So that at the end of the day, here's my pitch to our team, is that at the end of the day, we can focus on what we're really good at, and then we have margin to be good outside of work, so that we don't have achy backs. We can be present as husbands and wives, and I think that's what we're trying to do from a manufacturing standpoint.
See, I knew in my conversation with you that the culture point would come back around. That's why I didn't want to start with it. So tell me about why you lead with that at the forefront.
Good question. I think it has everything to do with my upbringing. Uh, I've said this quite a bit to our team, but my mom worked in retail here in Nashville, and so my grandmother, a cafeteria worker for a school district, my uncle, a custodian, and there was 13 of us that lived in the housing projects here in Nashville, and so um, that seeing the people on the floor reminds me of how I grew up, and so I I actually am one of them. I just happen to be the CEO, and I think everybody should be treated with dignity and respect. And believe it or not, when you do that, people are willing to run through a wall for you. So I've seen it. You know, maybe early on I didn't realize what I was doing, but now that I actually see that there's an actual business case and it can actually be successful, and you can actually run business and do it well and treat people right and be rooted in community, why not do it?
There's better outcomes, right? When you put that people first culture in from the start. You just kind of described it. Talk about what those outcomes are for you that you're looking for.
Yeah, I mean, it's changed over time. In the beginning, I didn't really know. It was just a part of just who we were wanting to be. We didn't have a lot to offer in the beginning, but you look at us today. I think our job as an employer is to make the lives of our people better. And so, how do you do that? I think you start off by looking at ways of how to make their lives better. So it starts off with healthcare. I mean, that's a topic that comes up a lot. Our employees, we pay 100% of their healthcare. So medical, dental, life, vision, short-term, long-term disability in a warehouse is major. When we decided to do that, we talked to the insurance company, and they were like, "Well, okay, you're going to have this much participation, but it, if you did this, it could look like this." And so we said, you know what? Why do we have insurance just to have it on paper? Why don't we just offer it to our people and just give it to them? And so it starts that way. So I think you take care of your people. You also look at it from a wage standpoint. We look at our wages on an annual basis and see how we fare in the market. And if we aren't the highest employer in the area, we do make adjustments. We do an annual employee survey. We want to hear from them and say, "Hey, look, what are we not doing right?" We just got our most recent survey back, and in manufacturing, the employee satisfaction rate on average is about 49%. Ours came in at 91% employee satisfaction rate. And so I think those things are, if we're not making life better for our people, what are we doing? And I think when we make life better for our people, they make it much easier for our clients. And then our clients are happy.
Rod, why do you think it's so important to put people first? We've talked about the outcomes. We've talked about like what it means to them and how it can affect your company. But, why is it important to you specifically?
I saw growing up, my mom couldn't make a lot of my extracurricular activities. She couldn't be involved. She's a single parent. She couldn't be involved as much. Grandmother couldn't do it. My uncle couldn't do it because they had to work. I believe that whether I like it or not, that's probably some trauma that I've got, but I think it has impacted me, and honestly, maybe for the better of the people that work at S3. And so for me, I wanted to prove to the world that we could create a culture to where we could put people first and be rooted in community, and still be highly successful. And we've still got a long way to go, but I think we're doing what we say we do. We talk about that a lot, and I think for me, it's honestly the why behind everything. I've had quite a few awards. I've done a lot of things, but at the end of the day, the thing I get the most excitement from is hearing about the first down payment, somebody's first car, somebody, getting things and changing their lives that have impacted them, and it's all because of what we've done at S3. And so, I mean, how can you not get excited about that?
And it's very much ingrained into who you are, and so I think that carries on throughout what you're doing within the community. You say that you want S3 to be rooted within the community. That starts at the top with your leadership. I think most leaders would agree with that. So you're sitting on different boards and that sort of thing. So talk a little bit about what you're doing outside of S3.
Yeah. I currently chair the Greater Nashville Technology Council Board of Directors. As we've mentioned, I'm in tech, so that makes sense. I really enjoy advocating for technology and what we're doing. Most people know my story, and I think that a lot of people that grew up or that are growing up like me, technology can help change their life and the trajectory of their life, and I think that's important. So that's why I'm involved there. I sit on the board of the Nashville Entrepreneur Center as well.
Shout out to the Entrepreneur Center where we were recording this today.
Yeah. Hey, Sam. And same there. Like, I'm a tech guy, but entrepreneurship is what has helped change the trajectory of my life. And I think, again, being a part of that and helping others see it is important. There are a few other boards that I sit on. One hadn't completely been announced yet, but it'll be coming in the next few weeks. And I really just enjoy sharing and sharing with the community, my people focused and culture. I think that's what I really bring. There are a lot of business people that are really good at a lot of things, and I think from my perspective, it's good to have somebody in the room that thinks about people. And so that's what you're going to always hear from me. It's like, hey, what are we doing to impact people? But yeah, Nashville made me. So there's something about me that, like, I've got to give back because Nashville's given so much to me.
Mm. How do you take your philosophy for people and bring it to all of these organizations to impact the greater community of Nashville? You're saying, you want to give back to Nashville itself. So what's your connection point through everything?
I think when you look at all the organizations that I serve, I think at the end of the day, there are a lot of organizations from a nonprofit perspective that are fighting for the same dollars on an annual basis. And I think at the end of the day, what I have realized is that we can do more and better together if we do it in community. And so what better way to connect people is if I'm sitting on some of these boards, and sometimes it really just requires trust. And so if there's somebody that's inserted on those boards that could build trust, that, as you have mentioned, that kind of live those daily values, I think you can bring a community closer together. Because at the end of the day, that's what we all want. We all want belonging.
Mm-hmm. When community happens, if that makes sense, I think you know what I mean by that. I think hopefully people who are listening to this know what I mean by that. But when community happens, that coming together, what does that do for industry and business? When a city is so ingrained with that as its culture, because that's how Nashville is, and I don't think every city gets that.
Yep.
So what happens?
Everyone wins. I think when we come together and we're truly working together, everyone has an opportunity to win. Now, winning looks different for everybody, but I believe when we're doing it together, we're looking across the spectrum of everyone and trying to figure out how we make everyone in those buckets, their lives much better. And I think you're right. I think Nashville does a really good job. But just like everywhere else, just like family, just like work, we could always do better.
The Nashville Post podcast series is proudly sponsored by Cumberland Pharmaceuticals, Nashville's specialty biopharmaceutical company. With a focus on innovation, Cumberland is working to develop new medicines for the future. The company also sponsors and operates Nashville's Life Sciences Center, which houses Cumberland's laboratories and supports the community as a home for emerging medical ventures. Cumberland is committed to improving patient care and to strengthening the life sciences sector of Tennessee's healthcare ecosystem. Learn more at cumberlandpharma.com. We invited you on the podcast. We're talking to lots of different people to talk about being specifically an industry disruptor. In your mind, is it this community first aspect and people first aspect that makes you a disruptor?
I think so. I wouldn't have said this maybe 5 years ago. Honestly, I think sometimes you don't realize what you are disrupting until people start pointing it out outside of you. And so I always thought, oh man, it's this, we're a tech company. We're recycling IT equipment. That's it. And you realize after hearing feedback that that's not really what it is. And it is the people focus. And I think you can see that around all the organizations that I'm a part of and how we move as an organization. And then even the leaders that we are creating at S3, they are all coming out being people focused. So yeah, I think that's totally our innovation. And how we're disrupting things. And honestly, I think it puts people at ease.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think too, when you create a culture like that, you create more opportunity to innovate, to allow space for your employees to come to you with ideas and try new things. So how do you feel you've seen that play out within S3?
Well, I'm an entrepreneur, so I'm full of ideas. I think because I'm not your typical corporate executive, as we're recording, and mostly every time people see me out in public, I always have Jordans on. I've got my blazer and my black shirt, so I look like a tech guy. So I'm not as stiff, and so we do some things that are probably a little bit unconventional and take a lot of risk. And I'm okay with failing and whatever those projects are, and saying, okay, hey, all right, that didn't go well. Like, what did we learn from there? And honestly, I was just I was meeting with our CTO just yesterday, and we learned so much more from our failures than we do from our successes. And I think that culture first, people have to feel vulnerable and want to go out and like be okay with failing, so that they don't feel like they're that it's a bad thing. Mm-hmm. And I think that is a part of culture, because people will continue to try. But if they fail and then there's some type of punishment from it, then you kind of reel it back, right? So I think we have, not just with me, but I think just our entire executive team and supervisors have done a really good job at allowing us to fail forward.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that comes too as a part of the culture of the city, because it's so creative and people feel more empowered here maybe to create and to fail and to try again, because it's just our vibe, if you will?
Yeah. No, I think you're totally right. And I mean, even going back to like, why I think I am the way I am is like Nashville makes you become that as well. Like if you're in great, it's almost, it's just like a culture in a business. Like you eventually just stick out like a sore thumb if you don't fit into the culture. And so, I think Nashville has a way of inviting new people in and new ideas and not just shutting them down.
Mm-hmm. In terms of inviting new people in, I know, being on the board of the tech council, this is probably important to you, tech workforce.
Yeah.
And also just for your company and hiring. Inviting new people to come to Nashville, be a part of the tech workforce, is a major push. This year, in prior years, it's definitely been an ongoing trajectory. Why is it so important now with AI and the way AI is being placed in multiple industries and that sort of thing? What kind of workforce development are you hoping to see come to Nashville? Talk a little bit about that.
So it's easy to just talk about tech. The AI thing it's important, but I think the biggest skill, of course, what I'm going to talk about, but the biggest skill is your EQ. I think people. So how do we invite people? And I'm just going to talk to us tech people for a second. Sometimes it's hard for us tech people to invite people in because they're not like us. But I think our industry is changing so much. There's a lot that AI could do from a tech perspective. And the thing that's maybe lacking a little bit more in our industry from a tech perspective is the people portion of it. Sometimes we're used to just putting the IT people in the closet and letting them do their work, but it's requiring a different type of IT person that is more people centered, more customer service, more because you've got to, even with AI, you've got to learn to talk to it to put the right prompts in, because if you don't, you may get the wrong output. So I think that's going to be the biggest skill that we're going to look for across all industries, not in just tech. But I think when we look back at things 5 years from now, 10 years from now, we're going to say, wow, we did not realize. I think some people are going to say we did not realize how important people skills are to our workforce.
Yeah, those soft skills are going to become more and more important, I think, as technology trains our younger generations. I feel like that's what's, the direction we're heading. On that technology and AI note specifically, I want to wrap up by asking you, what has AI done in your life personally? How has it changed your human experience?
Yeah. So I mentioned being a tech guy. My wife and I, we built a house about 4 years ago. And one of the things that we wanted to do was make it a smart home. So that's been a cool process. Over time, it's been, the kids have gotten really used to it. So it's been, so we've been in 4 years, and so we've had to replace switches and such that control all the lights and all this, and motion detectors and all these things. But currently, if you walk into any room in our house and you just say, hey, turn on the lights, it knows where you are. It turns on the lights there. You can tell it to start the washer, and it will start the washer. You can say, hey, start the washer at this time. You can say, hey, preheat the oven at 350 degrees, right? Even our 6-year-old, we have because there's speaker systems throughout the house. You can drop into a room. You can make announcements, which she loves doing. In our restroom, you can play, in all of our bathrooms, you can play music. And so you can hear Gabby singing all her songs. So anyways, we use AI. It's cool to use. I initially did it for myself because I just wanted it to be cool, but it's cool to see that the entire family they're using it more than I am. And they're finding out ways to use it. So yeah, I think from an everyday perspective, it's unbelievable how much we're using that in our home.
That's so fun. I am thinking of, for the millennials listening, the movie Smart House from Disney Channel.
I actually had them watch that.
Yeah.
So one other thing about that. So Gabby, she is afraid of monsters. And so we programmed 2 things for her. We program it to where she just says, hey, Alexa, I'm scared. And so when she says that, Alexa comes on and says, hey, Gabby, it is all right. Scanning for monsters. Monsters are gone. You're fine.
Cute.
And so that's one thing that I think is really cool. The second is like when she gets up in the middle of the night, she needs to use the restroom. The lights are already off. She just says, hey, Alexa, I need to use the restroom. And it lights the path up to the restroom for her.
Very cool.
So that's pretty cool. So just a little, from a tech perspective, those are the little cool things that we're doing from an AI perspective. So
it's cool to see it integrated into, personal life like that. And it's just a fun way to see it be used. Some people, I think, have that fear of that, but it's cool when you can see it working well and, a family enjoying it and, not being afraid their house is going to turn into a robot against them.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
Well, thank you, Rod, for being here. Really enjoyed our conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Thanks for listening to the Nashville Post podcast. Be sure to follow on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows. And please help spread the word by sharing, rating, and reviewing the show. The Innovations and Ideas digital series is brought to you by the Nashville Post with support from Cumberland Pharmaceuticals. For more content like this, go to nashvillepost.com and follow us on LinkedIn or wherever you get your news. This episode was produced in partnership with Relationary Marketing and the Nashville Entrepreneur Center. Produced and engineered by Buckner, Chuck Bryant, AJ Meyers, Kammer and Amira McCall.